Ay, gandang umaga po. Kumusta na kayo? Alright, Ay, gandang umaga po. Nadidig din niya. Kumusta na kayo? May monitor ako dito kasi lagi yung nagkakamali sa sa ating slide sharing. Remember? Alright, ayusin ko na itong lamp ko habang naghihintay kayo. Anong tingin nyo dyan sa Anong tingin nyo dyan sa 20 meter natin? Tingnan nga natin. Alright, let me share my screen. Okay, let's see it. 20 meter. Oh, I have taken a course, not a lecture, in logic before entering the university. No. Ako rin. Nag-Ateneo ako pero wala akong course sa logic. Alright? May lecture din akong na-attendan. Sa Ateneo, meron at least 2 lecture in 1 week sa high school na pag-aaralan yung logic. Kahit paano meron. Tingnan nga natin yung ibang sagot. Dine. Ay, naku. Mali ako ng spelling. Sandali, ha. Kukorek ko lang yung spelling, ha. Kakahiya naman, I have always known. Okay. N. Kakainis. Okay. Yan tama na yung spelling I have always known the difference between Aristotelian logic and mathematical logic. Some inkling, oo nga, ako din, title na timer na lang, magkaiba Pero in terms of, ano ba yung essential difference, hindi ko alam Alam ko lang kahit paano meron. 5-5, suntukan na kayo. Ay, lumamang yung, 6-all. Dine, I've always known that the foundation of, sus ko, taglaga, sorry nagmamadali ako dami-dami iniisip dahil sabi nga sa inyo, dami akong problema Well, actually, hindi problema. Madaming challenges. Alright, yan kinorek na natin Sige nga, we have corrected it. I've always known that the foundation of information communication technology and information theory are rooted in mathematical logic. Mali din. Hindi are rooted yun Is rooted. Is rooted. Alright, nasa na yun? Okay. Wala, babaguhin natin. Nakakahiya Pakagayahin ko pa yung aking mga clerical error. Yan I have always known that the foundation of information, communication technology, and information theory is rooted in mathematical logic. Ramdam naman natin no? Kaya lang, bakit pa tinanggal ng UP system yung pag-aaral ng Philo 1 and therefore logic? Talagang pala isipan something has gone wrong. Alright, marami na tayong nasa, ilan na ba kayo nandyan? Kulang pa, 15 lang, anak ng tinapay. Di bale, ano muna tayo, attendance. Attendance muna tayo, attendance, saan na yun? Attendance. Yung attendance form ko, kinuha ko na yun ito. Yan please fill out the form. Alright, paki-fill out ng form. Yan ay ating responsibilidad sa bayan. Alright. Ngayon pa lang mag-practice. Kasi pag hindi kayo praktisado na tumulong sa bayan, pagtanda ninyo na marami kayong ibang ginagawa at may challenge na kailangan tumulong, ay malamang hindi nyo gagawin. Alright? Kaya practice. Yan ay masaya kapag kayo ay nasanay. Alright? Practice. Go. Okay. Anong topic natin for today? Ayan, mathematical logic. Alright? Ayan ang topic natin. Mathematical logic. Sometimes it is called modern symbolic logic. Alright? Sometimes it is called modern symbolic logic. Alright. Now, punta muna tayo din sa ating Jamboard. Alright? Hopefully, makahabol yung iba. Total, pwede naman na lang i-replay eh. So, habol na lang sila. Pinag-usapan natin na tayong mga namimiloso po, meron tayong reflection na ginagawa. Alright? So, we reflect upon our world, about our world, about us. Alright? Pagigid natin, masyadong mahaba, hindi naman mahaba ang buntot ng ano. Alright? And as we reflect, this is what happens. Alright? You remember? Alright, sandali tapusin natin. Lagyan natin ng clouds. Yan. Okay? As we reflect about what's going on around us in our minds, inevitably what happens is we are left with our thoughts expressed in sentences. Alright? What happens is we are left with our thoughts expressed in sentences. Maybe we start with first some imagery or a bunch of imagery, but inevitably, thanks to our capacity for language that is actually genetic in nature, inevitably we end up, all right, with our sentences in our mind. And what have we said earlier, all right? What we do is we connect our sentences, our thoughts to our, in our minds to one another. Under some, you remember, system. It can be a system of sentences or underpinning sentences. It can be a system of terms or conceptual framework. Now, this is the point. Sabi nga natin, inevitably, what happens is we discover through experience that some of our thoughts will contradict with some of our thoughts. Problema, di ba? Alright, but actually, sabi ko nga, hindi naman problema talaga eh. Alright, pwedeng tingnan natin as challenge. Alright, challenge. Contradictions, you might view them as challenges for you to become creative. How will you become creative? Because if you are able to do away with your contradiction, then you get to have a more coherent, all right? What do you get to have? A more coherent system. All right? And if you like a more harmonious system. Ano nga sabi natin? Anong sabi natin? Pagka less contradiction, alright, eto nga, natanggal mo yung isa, more coherence or more harmony. Alright? Pagka more coherent or more harmony, anong mangyari? Better prediction. At yan ang gusto natin, di ba? Yung prediction natin becomes more reliable. Alright? Yung prediction natin becomes more reliable, and so we're happy. Di ba? We are in control of our destinies. Yan. Napakasimpleng schema eh. Hindi ko maintindihan bakit yung UP system tinanggal-tanggal itong requirement ng pag-aaral ng logic and philosophical analysis. Now, ano ngayon ang gagawin natin? Well, teka, iwanan muna natin yan. Noong 1860s, anong kwento ko sa inyo? Ang panahon namin, mahilig kami sa Star Trek, alright? Mahilig kami sa Lost in Space, mahilig kami sa Star Wars, alright? Noong panahon ni Jose Rizal, ang tawag sa age namin, Age of Space Exploration. Panahon ni Jose Rizal, ang tawag sa panahon nila ay ano, Age of Inventors, di ba? Pinag-usapan na natin yan. 1800s, alright? Age of Inventors. Yan. Alright? So, ano ngayon? Ganito kasi. Yung Age of Inventors na yan, ay ano, napansin nung isang teacher. Actually, originally, batang teacher lang yan eh. Na geeky, parang ako. Itong geek na ito, ang pangalan niya, yan, si George Bull. Alright? Sino ba yan? Ayan oh, George Bull. Alright? Ito si George Bull, ay ano, isang teacher. Alright? And then, mahilig sa philosophy, mahilig sa mathematics. Alright? Pinanganak siya, 1815. Alright? Umabot siya hanggang 1864. Now, nung 1861, na matanda na siya, excuse me, well, matanda by 19th century standards, nagsulat siya ng libro. Alright? Naging professor siya din sa Queen's College. Alright? Queen's College. Yung Queen's College is public school na parang kumbaga sa atin na UP. Merong mga branches tayo sa probinsya. Parang gano'n. No? Now, ulitin natin. Ito si George Bull, matalino, may napansin. Napansin niya Napansin niya itong mga inventors na ito ay siyempre pinapasaya ang buhay natin. Alright? Sino ang pinag-uusapan natin? Si George Bull. Alright? George Bull. Kailan? 1861. Anong ginawa niya? Ari nga, pinapaliwanag. Alright? Sabi ni George Bull, among the ancient Greeks, kasi sabi ko nga sa inyo, mahilig sa philosophy, mahilig din sa mathematics. Now, sabi niya, among the ancient Greeks, ay meron silang definition ng mathematics. Alright? Alright, so mathematics, ancient Greeks na naman. Wala tayong takas, Ancient Greeks. Now, among the ancient Greeks, sabi niya, ang mathematics is defined as, ito, habaan natin. Mathematics is the study of numbers. Alright? Ay, tama naman. Miski naman yan, alam natin Kaso, alright, study of numbers. Alright? Kaso, ano yung numbers? Sabi ng mga Greeks, numbers represent measurement or magnitude. Ayan. Alright? Pinag-usapan natin yan, di ba? Measurement or magnitude, you remember? At lahat kayo sumagot, except for, I think, 2. Tatandaan yan, lahat kayo sumagot. Yes, numbers represent measurement or magnitude. Eto ngayon, napansin ng mga Greeks na, merong mga forms of numbers na hindi mo pwedeng sabihin some kind of measurement or magnitude. Halimbawa, the value of 22/7. Anong klaseng measurement yan? Alright? And marami pang iba. Alright? So, sabi ng mga Greeks ganito. Tingnan natin Dali. Ulitin natin, ha? Very commonsensically, we can say mathematics is the study of numbers, and very commonsensically, we can say numbers represent measurement or magnitude. You remember, you have a fish. All right? How do you know the fish is juvenile? So, hindi pwedeng iuwi. Or adult, pwede mong iuwi. So, paano mo malaman? Eh di gagawa ka ng measurement, di ba? And usually, your measurement of, say, like the fish, is a straight edge ruler. Alright? Now, etong value ng pi, or 22/7, ano siya eh? Ano yung value niya? 3.14. Naliyo na nga ang mga supercomputers even today. Hindi pa natin malaman-laman kung anong klaseng calculation yan. Even the Greeks have said, pardon the expression, puta na, ano yung number ito? Ay hindi ganare, ay hindi rin gayon. Pwedeng ganito, pero pwede rin gayon. In other words, alanganin. Pagka tinanong nyo, gaano katangkad si Mahal, yung artista, madaling sabihin, ano? 3 dangkal. Pero pag tinanong nyo, anong sukat? Alright? Ito nga yung pinag-uusapan natin eh. Anong sukat are? Na hindi mo malaman lamang kung ano. And so, the ancient Greeks, alright? The ancient Greeks have come up with a solution. Sabi ng mga ancient Greeks, alright? Ito, tawagin natin na ang mga ganitong numbers, alright? Anong ganitong numbers? Ay, are. Yung mga ganitong numbers, kagaya ng 22/7, which is of course the value of the pi, yung ganyang mga numbers, tawagin natin according to them, impossible numbers. Alright? May mga Greeks yan ang sinasabi. Yan ay mga impossible numbers. Why? Because they cannot be some form of measurement or magnitude. Alright? They cannot be any form of measurement or magnitude. Malabo. Alright? Big question mark. Kaya sabihin natin, impossible measurement or magnitude. Alright? Yun ang tawag nila. Now, impossible numbers, according to the Greeks, alright, ano pinag-usapan natin, Greeks, according to them, indicate, alright, ito kakapitalize ko ha, indicate human error. Alright, or human errors. Yan ang mabigat. Alright? If you have an impossible number somewhere in your calculation, it only means there is some human error somewhere. Alright? And if there is some human error somewhere, that means, what do you do? Alright? Teka nga, tingnan natin. Nadidinig nyo naman ako, no? Alright, so far so good. Teka muna. Gandang umaga po. Ay, nakakapitalize. Yan. O kaya sabihin nyo sa akin, pagka nagkaka-letse-letse na naman tayo, ha? Ulitin natin. Sabi ng Greeks, you encounter an impossible number in your calculation, that means there is some human error somewhere in what you're doing. So, you have two things that you can do. Either one, you trace step by step where you have come from with what you're doing and then look at the root of your human error and do something about it. Hanapin mo kung saan nagmula yung error mo. And then pag nakita mo na, ay di i-correct mo. Pero pag hindi mo makita, ay don't waste your time. Iwanan mo na lang yung ginagawa mo. Aksaya sa oras. Alright? Dahil human error nga, ay tsak na tsak, walang mangyayari. Yun ang sabi ng ancient Greeks. Ay matalino rin si George Bull. Bakit? Ay sabi ni George Bull alright, ito. Sabi ni George Bull, may problema tayo. Bakit? Ay aring mga inventors, sino yung mga inventors natin? Example natin, Sino yung mga sikat na inventors natin? Sabi niya, aring mga inventors natin, kagaya nino, sino nga ba yung umimbento ng dynamo? Yan, contemporary niya, si Michael Faraday. Alright? Michael Faraday. Halos magkasabay silang magkikita dun sa Royal Society ng mga scientists ng England. Isang halimbawa yan, ang daming calculations niya na ginagawa involving electromagnetism and electrochemistry. Alright? Dahil sa kanyang pag-aaral, na-imbento ang pag-aaral ni Michael Faraday, ang dynamo. Sino pa? Ay aring sino nga ba yung siya? Nawala. Ito, si James Clerk Maxwell. Alright? Umabot din noong 1870s, di ba? Halos magkakasabay sila Nakikita rin yung mga yan. Saan? Doon sa Royal Society ng mga scientists sa England. Ito ay taga-Scotland. Ayan, Scotland, United Kingdom. Naku, miski ngayon, sa dami ng equations na ating utang na loob sa kanya, kung wala nga siya, we will not have probably Albert Einstein. And we will not have probably Claude Shannon ng information theory. Naku, kung wala yan si Maxwell, wala yung, ano bang tawag natin dito? Wala yung information communication technology. Alright? Sino pa? Ay siyempre, si Alexander Graham Bell. Alright? In fact, alright, inabot niya yung mga binabanggit natin, although mas bata siya. In fact, yung kanyang interest, nakita niyo to, born in England, in Edinburgh, Scotland, alright? Ito si Alexander Graham Bell, ayan Scotland. Contemporary rin nila, mas bata. Ay kaya nga na-inspire mag-imbento ng telepono. Ay gawa nga ng pag-aaral nino. Yan, si Maxwell at saka pag-aaral nino ni Michael Faraday. Kasi yung Royal Society ng mga scientists, nagkikita-kita yan regularly every month. Now, dahil sa kanila, ito si Thomas Edison sa Amerika na-inspire. Dahil sa kanila, ito si Nikola Tesla na-inspire din sa Amerika. Alright? So, ano ngayon nangyari? Wala lang, gusto ko lang magkwento. Sabi na rin si George Bull, alright? Sabi na rin si George Bull, itong mga inventors ay kadaming impossible numbers na pinakikialaman. Ulitin natin, itong mga inventors, alright? Kadaming mga impossible numbers na pinakikialaman. Pero, hindi kagaya ng mga Greeks. Alright? Anong sabi ng mga Greeks? You encounter an impossible number that indicates human error. And therefore, what do? Two things. Ano yung isa? You trace the roots of your error and you correct it. Or two, you drop what you're doing. Otherwise, you'll just waste your time. Meron ngayon tayong contradiction. Ano yung contradiction natin? Sabi sa inyo yung contradiction challenge yan Yan ang pinanggagalingan ng ating innovation and creativity. Presuming you can reflect upon what you're doing, kagaya ng ginagawa natin. Kaso, hindi na uso sa UP system. Tayo lang mga Asgardian sa UP Diliman ng magulong. Alright? So, ano yung contradiction? Alright? If we follow the definition of mathematics ng Greeks, Then we end up with saying what? Numbers, all right, numbers represent measurement or magnitude, all right? Measurement or magnitude, all right? Now, there are certain types of numbers that are actually impossible numbers, all right? They are actually impossible numbers. Yun yung problema. Alright, sulat natin ha. Impossible numbers. Now, once you encounter impossible numbers, what happens? Sabi nga natin, that indicates human error. Alright? That indicates human error. Okay. Now, if there is human error, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to either correct the error, all right? Either you correct the error, ano ba to? Or what? Or drop what you're doing. Drop the activity. Kasi waste of time. All right? And for a long time, among academics, mga professor, ayan, kagaya nino, ni James Clerk Maxwell, kagaya nino, ni George Bull, yan yung attitude eh. Alright? Now, so, if you discover impossible numbers that indicate human error, then you either correct the error or drop what you're doing. But when it comes to inventors, and this is where we have the contradiction. When it comes to inventors, alright, inventors double with impossible numbers. They are so much embroiled with impossible numbers. Lalo nang naging komplikado kasi naimbento ang advanced mathematics. We now encounter, for example, the square root of -1. Tanong, anong klaseng number ang square root of -1? Sabi nga natin, haka-haka. Kahit nasa Cartesian coordinate system, hindi nyo maisulat eh. Di ba? Alright, anong klaseng sukat? Yung haka-haka. Puta na, suntukan na lang tayo. But they have very complicated equations that they have to deal with. Alright, involving magnetic fields. Alright? Yung ganyang pag-aaral ng magnetic fields involves complex equations involving such complex numbers even. Alright? Anong klaseng measurement yung mga complex numbers? Anong klaseng measurement yung square root of -1? Ero rin si Alexander Graham Bell, lalo na si Nikola Tesla, and of course, si Michael Faraday earlier. Ito lang si Thomas Edison nang hindi masyadong nakikialam sa equation eh. At mathematical analysis. Anong gusto nating sabihin? Itong mga inventors na ito, pangkaraniwan that they double with impossible numbers. But they never do this. Either try to correct the error or something and drop their activity. They never do that. Why? Because inventors are interested in inventing. Wala mo silang pakialam dun sa mga sasabihin ng kung sino. Remember? Inventors are interested in inventions that make everyone happy. Especially the businessmen. Alright? Yan ang interest ng mga inventors eh. Alright? So, ito ngayon ang catch. Ano yung catch? Inventors should be dropping their activity having to do with impossible numbers, but they don't. But they end up making everybody happy. So, tanong ni George Bull, which is a very, anong tawag dito? Very important question. Alright, anong tanong ni George Bull? Kasi kung tama ang mga Greeks, mali yung mga inventors. Alright? Kung tama ang inventors, mali yung mga Greeks. Yun ang kaso. Alright? Now, that's the question that George Bull has posed. Alin yung tama? Alright? Itong paniwala about numbers being representing measurement or magnitude, therefore you end up with impossible numbers, therefore you end up with saying this. Or ang tama ay yung position ng mga inventor, kahit na anong sabihin ninyo, basta masaya yung aming mga binibigyan ng aming mga inventions. Yan. Sabi ni George Bull, itong panahon ng inventors, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin mali yung mga inventors Kaya nga lumakas yung United Kingdom that later has become the British Empire, gawa na industrialization. And yung industrialization ay entirely dependent on these inventors. Yan. Di ba? Ang galing, ano? Pag mahilig ka sa philosophy, siyempre mahilig ka rin sa mga Greeks, at addict ka ng coherence. At kagaya ni George Bull, may nakitang incoherent, may nakitang contradiction. Alright? Ano yung contradiction? Abay po tayo na dapat yung mga, kung tama ang mga Greeks, mali ang inventors. Kung tama ang inventors, mali ang Greeks. Hindi pwede silang parehong tama. Ayan. Alright? And of course, George Bull says, the inventors were correct. Alright? Kasi, sabi niya, well anyway, very simple. Tama ang inventors. Alright? Tama ang inventors. Yun ang sabi ni George Bull. Of course, in English, ano? Tama inventors hindi mo pwedeng sabihin mali. Alright? In the world of the Industrial Revolution, in Great Britain, alright, ay hindi mo pwedeng sabihin mali ang inventors. Alright? Kasi kaya nga nagkaroon ng Grand Britannica, gawa niyan Alright? So, tama inventors. Kung tama inventors, mali ang Greeks. Alright? Mali ang ancient Greeks. Kung mali ang ancient Greeks, eto ngayon. Alright? Kung mali ang ancient Greeks, anong mali sa kanila? Ang mali sa ancient Greeks, yung definition. Yan. Yung definition ng mathematics. Yan. Definition of mathematics. Yan. Okay. Hindi pwede yung definition ng mathematics ng mga ancient Greeks. Ayan ang nangyari. Kung tama ang inventors, mali ang Greeks. Kung mali ang Greeks, mali yung definition of mathematics nila. O, ngayon, ito ngayon ang tanong. Ano yung tanong? Well, interesting, di ba? Alright. Ano yung tanong? Ang tanong ito. Teka nga, check ko lang So far, so good Okay, maayos pa tayo Yan, I'm sharing correctly the slides Okay, ganito. Ulitin natin So, kung tama ang inventors, mali ang Greeks, ang ancient Greeks. Kung mali ang ancient Greeks, mali yung definition ng mathematics as what? Representing measurement or magnitude. Ito yung tanong natin. If mathematics is not, or rather, sorry, mali. If numbers are not about measurement or magnitude, alright? Or another way of putting it, if numbers do not really represent real things like measurement or magnitude, all right, another way of putting it, then what is mathematics about? What are numbers about? What are numbers about? Yun ang tanong. Alright? So, highlight natin to. If numbers are not about measurement or magnitude, then what are numbers about? Big question. O, meron bang pwedeng sumagot? Tingin nga ako din eh. So, sa chat, tingnan ko, baka lang sakaling may sasagot eh. So, what are numbers? If they are not about measurement or magnitude, yan, paano na tayo? All of a sudden, naging komplikado ang buhay natin. Ay, addict nga si ano eh, si George Bull saan? Addict nga sa coherence eh. Hindi makakatulog. Alright? Ganyan ang mga taga-UP Diliman. By the time matapos kayo ng course natin, addict na kayo sa coherence. Pag addict na kayo sa coherence, hihiga kayo sa bahay, manonood kayo ng Cobra Kai, eh, hindi kayo mag-enjoy. Bakit? Eh, naiisip nyo yung incoherence ng mundo. Naiisip nyo yung lack of harmony of the world you live in. Alright? Well, anyway, wala pang sumasagot. Mamaya. So, anong nangyari? Ay di, sabi ni George Bull, ere. Okay? Let me give you some explanation. Supposing you have a point, say a thought in your mind, or a point in space, or, excuse me, some event in history, and you're saying that point is related to another point, all right? Like, for example, some economic event will give way to some political event. So they are related. So now you want to identify some kind of relationship. All right? You're saying they are related. Some economic event at one point in history, all right, some economic event at one point in history looks like it is related to a political event within the same epoch of history. And so you want to represent the relationship. All right? Because you're saying they're related. So you want to represent the relationship. Okay. So how do you represent the relationship? Well, you draw a segment. All right? Now, as you draw a segment, you realize you can actually bifurcate the segment. But then, between the origin here and the midpoint, you can also bifurcate it as such. And so on and so forth. All right? Which means what? At one point, therefore, you end up with some kind of what? You end up with some kind of a meter stick. All right? What do you end up with? A meter stick. And that's how you invent some kind of a measurement or magnitude. All right? So far, so good. Na-imagine nyo, no? Yan ang nangyayari. Ngayon, ang sinasabi ni George Bull, sa totoo lang, ang original na intent mo, walang kinalaman dyan sa measurement or magnitude. Ang original na intent mo, pakita mo lang yung relationship. Nagkataon lang by accident na naisip mo yung mga kung ano-anong yan, by the time you know it, meron ka ng measurement or magnitude. Alright? This is an accident. All right? This is just an accident. All right? Chamba. Chamba. Ang original na intention mo ay ano, yung identification of the what? All right? Ano yung original na intention mo? Ang original na intention mo, identification of the, all right, relationship, or you like the relation. All right? Ang gusto mo talaga, ma-identify mo yung relation between some point and some other point. Yan yung original na interest mo. Yan ang sinasabi ni George Bull. Ergo, alright? Ang sinasabi ni George Bull, ito na, napaka-importante nito. Ang sinasabi ni George Bull, ang importante talaga sa mathematics ay the study of relations. Yan. Alright? Mathematics is about numbers. Alright? It's about numbers. And numbers represent relations. And numbers represent relations. Essentially. Alright? Numbers represent relations essentially. Alright? Although, they may, pero may lang, alright? Dito natin, they may, alright? Emphasis, may lamang, but not necessary. They may involve measurement or magnitude. Alright? Yan. So, nagbago yung attitude. Measurement or magnitude. Alright? So, nagbago yung attitude. In other words, what George Bull has done is he has, alright, he has redefined mathematics. He has reinvented mathematics. Alright, he has reinvented mathematics. Sino yan? Si George Bull. Alright? Sino yan? Si George Bull. Okay, sulat natin ha. George Bull. Alright? Importante. Bakit? Actually, yung reinvention na yan, dyan nagmula ang lahat ng computer systems. Alright? Sino yan? Si George Bull. Okay, he redefined, reinvented mathematics. At bakit niya ni-redefine? Kasi merong, do you remember, contradiction. It boils down to having discovered the contradiction. Alright? May mga tao, katabi na nila, kapag tulog ang contradiction sa buhay nila, but they don't realize it. Alright? Pero so si George Bull, hypersensitive given his education. Kasi ang British, ay very much interested in the ancient Greeks. Alright? Yung kinukwento ko nung una na, well, tsaka na natin pag-usapan. Later, pag-usapan natin. Anyway, so, yan na nangyari. It all boils down to na discovering contradiction, between the practice, contradiction between the definition of mathematics by the ancient Greeks on one hand, and the practice of inventors on the other hand. They could not go together. And given that, George Bull has had to redefine or reinvent mathematics. Yan. So what is mathematics? It is the study of relations. It is the study of numbers that represent relations. Ay tuwang-tuwa si George Bull sa kanyang sarili. Bakit? Naku, mahaba na istorya nito. Itong pampahirap sa buhay ko. So, ano nangyari? 1860s. Okay, malapit na mamatay si George Bull. In 1860s, he reinvents, or if you like, he redefines, or if you like, reinvents mathematics. All right, and he says mathematics is about relations. All right. Now, bago ko ituloy ang kwento din kay George Bull, tatawagan ko ng pansin, ito namang sino? Si Rene Descartes. Bakit? Wala lang. Gusto ko magkwento tungkol sa mga geeks. Yan. Alam nyo, ito si Rene Descartes. Ako, kahaba ng kwento nito. But you have to listen, ha? Rene Descartes. Kilala niyan, di ba? Cartesian Coordinate System. In fact, yung invention niya ng Cartesian Coordinate System, gusto niya to put together geometry and algebra. Kasi nung panahon niya, yung pag-aaral ng geometry, hiwalay sa pag-aaral ng algebra. Alright? And he said, maybe we should put them together. Now, nagkataon naman na itong si Rene Descartes, kaibigan ni Galileo. Naku, lumalayo na tayo sa usapan. Alright? At ito namang si Galileo, ay sabi nga natin, siya yung inventor, one of the inventors of the scientific method, ano? One of the inventors of the scientific method. And one of those things that he has said is what? The Earth is not the center of the solar system. Alright? Bakit? Geek siya. Nag-invento siya ng telescope at kung ano nung ginawa niya doon sa telescope, he comes to the conclusion that the Earth cannot be the center of the solar system. Now, dahil dyan, galit sa kanya ang simbahan. Ayan, po tayo na church. Yung simbahan, galit kay Galileo. Kasi sabi ng simbahan, only man is created in the image of God. And therefore, he's the most important creation of God. And therefore, his home is the most important place in the universe. And therefore, it must be the center of the universe. That's the reason why, alright? Baka nami-miss nyo na ako, no? Ang sabi ng simbahan, that's the reason why everything you throw into the sky, they go back to earth. Why? Because everything loves the earth. Because it's the center of the universe. Sira. Alright? But anyway, dahil sa kanilang paniwala na yan, inape nila si Galileo. Kawawa naman. Alright? Inape. Sabi nila, sunugin yan. Kaya lang matanda na, pinagtanggol ng kanyang mga estudyante. So ano nangyari? Sabi, huwag niyo naman sunugin. Alright? By the way, naninigurado lang ako. Putang na, pag akong susunugin, pagtatanggol niyo rin ako, ha? Ay sabi nung mga estudyante ni Galileo, pagbigyan nyo na, matanda na Bakit nyo pa susunugin? So, ang ginawa kay Galileo, binigyan ng life sentence. Hindi siya sinunod, pero na-life sentence siya. Pagkatapos, dahil nga sa mga estudyante niya, pinagtanggol uli, ay sabi, i-life sentence yun na, pero doon na lang ikulong sa bahay. Napakatanda na kawawa naman. So, life sentence, house arrest. Kaibigan ni Galileo si Rene Descartes. Magkaibigan yung dalawa. Si Rene Descartes, kagaya ko, ay produkto ng mga Jesuits. Alright? Estudyante ng mga Jesuits all his life. In other words, highly religious. religious siya, alright? Ito si Descartes, religious. But at the same time, yung kaibigan niya na mahilig din sa science, kagaya niya, ay ano, inaapi ng simbahan. Conflict. Alright? Conflict. Contradiction. Oh, ito na naman. Alright? Contradiction between what? Science and religion. Alright? Contradiction between science and religion. Damang-dama ni Rene Descartes. Ayan ang maganda. Alright? Daman-daman yan. Sabi nila, putang ina, paano na ito? Alright? Now remember, very successful siya sa pag-combine ng pag-aaral ng geometry at algebra using Cartesian coordinate system na dati-dati naman ay hindi related. Alright? Okay? At ano ang topic natin? Relations, di ba? Yan. Now, kaya naging magkaibigan si Rene Descartes at si Galileo kasi silang dalawa ay may common interest. Anong common interest nila? Si Euclid. Euclid of Alexandria. Na ano, inventor ng geometry. Itong si Euclid na ito, napag-usapan na natin, pero pag-uusapan uli natin more clearly, alright? Itong si Euclid of Alexandria, siya nga umimbento ng geometry. At itong si Galileo, nag-introduce kay Rene Descartes ng geometry. Kaya naging magkaibigan sila. Alright? So, nagkakabit-kabit na yung usapan, ano? Yan. So, ano nga yung kinalaman ng si Euclid kay Descartes, kay Galileo, at nung tatlo na yan, kay George Boole, at nung lahat na yan, sa usapan natin. Wala, gusto ko lang magkwento. Sandali. Remember, pinag-aralan natin si Euclid. At sabi natin, on the basis of 5 axioms, alright, on the basis of 5 axioms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yung panglima nga ay napaka-komplikado, you can derive rules, from where you can derive rules, from where you can derive rules, from where you can derive rules, and by the time you know it, you end up with an inverted pyramid system covering all, as in all, rules about space. Alright? Yan. Yan yung Euclidean geometry. Hopefully, pinag-aralan nyo ng high school. So, naintindihan nyo sinasabi ko. Alright? Ngayon, sabi ni Rene Descartes, kagaya nung ginawa niya sa pag-combine ng pag-aaral ng geometry at algebra, sabi niya, baka naman pwede ang gawin natin ganito. Instead of coming up with a system combining all rules about space, let's come up with a system combining all rules about everything. Alright? All rules about everything. Bakit space lang? Yung lahat na ng knowledge ng mankind. Alright? At kaya nga siya nag-invento nung sinasabi natin na indubitable form of knowledge, cogito ergo sum. Alright? Pero wag na nating puntahan yung details. But for purposes lang na, baka you might come across this later on. Cogito ergo sum. And out of some indubitable knowledge, he says, maybe we can derive all knowledge of mankind and put it in a system like Euclidean geometry. So, it's all about some system like Euclidean geometry. And why would he do that? Kasi gusto ni Rene Descartes na somewhere, kung nasan yung religion, rules ng religion, ay i-relate niya, mamamap out niya kung ano yung relationship dun sa rules ng science. Alright? Kasi ang paniwala niya, hindi naman sila incompatible. What you just simply need to do is try to show how religion and science are related under some system. Alright, under some system. Alright, yan sino? Si Rene Descartes. Alright, that's him. Okay? Ano nangyari? Ang nangyari, unsuccessful siya. Puta na, yabang ba naman eh. Tatalunin pa yung Wikipedia. Alright? So, ang Wikipedia, you have 15 million pages. And that's not even half of all knowledge of mankind. Alright? But yun ang gusto mo yari ni Rene Descartes. Di unsuccessful. May sumunod na generation ni Baruch Spinoza. Sabi niya, gusto kong gawin tong kay Rene Descartes. Namatay na si Rene Descartes nakita ni Baruch Spinoza, matalino rin yan. Siya yung inventor ng what we know today as modern optics. Unsuccessful din siya. Alright? So, palso si Rene Descartes, palso si Baruch Spinoza. Pero bago namatay si Baruch Spinoza, sinabi niya, kaya palso kasi yabang natin eh. Sino? Si Rene Descartes saka Spinoza. At dumating, kasunod naman, nung isang generation pa, sino? Si Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. Alright? Yan. Pinag-usapan natin yata yan di ba? Ito si Leibniz naman. Alright. Ito si Leibniz. Sabi ni Leibniz, puta na, yabang nga eh. So sabi ni Leibniz, yung kayabangan, bawasan natin. Rather than unifying all of knowledge of mankind, ang i-unify lang natin mathematics. Doon natapos yung kwento. Alright? Ano i-unify lang? Unify mathematics. Alright? Kasi, total, sinimulan na ni Rene Descartes, ni-unify niya ang geometry at saka, ang algebra eh. So, eto ngayon, magmula sa generation ni Leibniz sa Europe, ay yan na ngayon ang pinag-aawayan. Alright? Unification of mathematics. Yan. Now, kailan ba nabuhay itong dentist na si Leibniz? Alright? Leibniz. Yan. Okay. Yan, 1600s. Alright? Hanggang 1700s. Now, of course, sikat siya, no? Siya ang umimbento ng calculus eh. Modern life will not be modern life without calculus. Now, ano nangyari? Ay di magmula noong panahon nga nitong si Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, kailan? Ayan 1716. Magmula nung panahon na yan, ang preoccupation ng matatalino sa mundo, lalo na sa Europe, ay unification of mathematics. At lahat sila fail. Nag-fail si Leibniz, nag-fail si Blaise Pascal, nag-fail ang lahat ng kung sino-sino. Fail. Diyan pumasok si George Boole. Bakit? Kasi ito yung nangyari. Alright? Ano nangyari? Si George Boole, ayusin natin. Yan. Itong si George Boole, tuwan-tuwa. Bakit? Kasi for the first time, meron siyang ibang pagtingin sa mathematics. Alright? There's a new way of looking at mathematics. That mathematics is about relations. Alright? Bago. New outlook. Alright? Hindi na uso yung Big Bang. Ang uso na ngayon, BTS. Alright? Tuwan-tuwa siya. Bakit? Kasi sabi niya, maybe with this new outlook, I will be successful. Alright? Yun ang dating eh. Maybe with this new outlook, I will be successful in unifying mathematics. Yan ang dating. Kaya masaya siya, di ba? So maybe finally, I will be able to unify mathematics. Hindi pa tapos yan, ha? Meron dagdag. Kasi meron pa siyang nadiskubre. Alright? Ulitin natin, ha? So, kaya siya tumantuwa, maybe, finally, someone can unify mathematics and that would be him. Alright? Ngayon, may dagdag pa. Kasi remember, sabi niya, mathematics, numbers are about relations. And turns out, the study of relations is a very old discipline. We call it logic. Alright? Coming from the word, alam nyo na yan, ha? Logoy, a derivative of the word logos. Alright? Yung yung pag-aaral pala ng lintris na yan na si Aristotle, alright? Eh, yan talaga ang foundation ng mathematics. Alright. So, ang catch is, baka kaya may problema, hindi ma-unify ang mathematics, ay kasi hindi alam ng mga naunang mathematicians na ang foundation ng mathematics ay logic. Alright. Now, nagkataon naman, nung panahon ni George Boole, ang uso lang na pag-aaral ng logic ay Aristotelian logic. But nevertheless, he was so hopeful that finally, founded on logic, he can unify mathematics. Eh, dito ang tuwa. Ang saya. Sa party. Kaya lang, sa tinagal-tagal ng panahon, ay ano nangyari? Ay palso. In other words, fail. Alright? George Boole failed. Alright? That's the point. George Boole, alright, failed to unify mathematics. Alright? Fail yan. Now, dahil may failure, ano nangyari? Okay lang sa kanya kasi ano yun eh. At least may challenge, di ba? Saka hindi naman masama na mag-fail eh, basta natututo ka. Now, natutunan ni George Boole kung bakit siya nag-fail. Yan. Kasi, ang gusto nating mangyari, unify mathematics on the basis of logic. In others, the rules of logic, ang gagamitin nating foundation ng ating system, kagaya nung kay Euclid, pero ang gagamitin nating axioms ay rules of logic. Yan. Yun ang gusto nating mangyari. Gusto ni George Boole mangyari. Ang problema, mathematics, which in principle should be all of this, alright, mathematics, in principle, which should be all of this, ay ano, ay hindi compatible with Aristotelian logic. Alright? Hindi compatible with Aristotelian logic, which was the only form of the study of relations, the study of logic nung panahon ni George Boole. So, merong taliwas, merong pagtataliwas, merong hindi pagtatama. Alright? Okay? Dapat nagtatama pero hindi. Bakit? Kasi itong mathematics, noong 1800s, alright? Itong mathematics noong 1800s, mature na discipline. It was a very mature discipline. Alright? Kung si Aristotle nabuhay noong 1800s, hindi niya maintindihan yung pinag-uusapan sa mathematics. At miski naman ako, napakadaming 19th century mathematics, hindi ko rin naintindihan hanggang ngayon eh. Pero ito namang Aristotelian logic, partly dahil salamat sa simbahan, walang pinagbago. From 300 years BC, alright, hanggang sa 1800s, walang pinagbago. Alright, in other words, yung Aristotelian logic compared to mathematics, highly immature. Alright, highly immature as a discipline. So may mismatch. Ano yung mismatch? Mathematics cannot be combined with Aristotelian logic. That's the problem. Alright? So, tanong ni George Bull, puta na bakit? Kasi parang ganito yan eh. May isang immature na tao. Halimbawa, sino bang maisip nating immature na tao? Si Duterte. Tapos ipapakasal mo sa napaka-mature na tao. Sino? Si Leni Robredo. Naloko na. Hindi pwede. Right? So, sabi ni George Bull, ano yung gagawin natin? Sabi ni George Bull, ito ang solution. Tanungin mo, bakit? Alright? Bakit nag-mature ang mathematics? Alright? Why mathematics nag-mature? Alright? Bakit siya nag-mature? How did it come to be matured? And then, kung di mo malaman yan, tanungin mo, bakit naging ang Aristotelian logic, bakit naging immature? Alright? Bakit siya naman, on the other hand, naging immature? Ay malaking tanong. Alright? So, yun ang tanong mo ngayon. At in the case of George Bull, sabi niya, ay mas madali ring sagutin. Sabi niya, ang sagot din simple lang. Kasi ang mathematics gumamit ng symbolic language. Yan. Gumamit ng symbolic language. Yan. Ano sabi niya, gamitan mo ng symbolic language. Alright, at maayos yan. Okay? Ayusin natin yan. So, yan ang solution. Sabi niya, what we need to do is we need to, alright, reinvent logic. Ito na naman tayo. Sabi niya, itong logic, kailangan nating reinvent. Kailangan mo i-reinvent ang Aristotelian logic. So, as it uses symbolic language. Yan. At yan na yun. Alright, napaka-importante niyan. Bakit? Kasi, yan na naging basis ng pagkakaroon ng information communication technology. Kung hindi niya nagawa yan, walang matematika. Kaya ang tawag mathematical logic. Alright? That's the reason why it's called mathematical logic. Alright? Mathematical logic. Kaya yan ang tawag kasi nga ito yung symbolic logic inihalo natin sa pag-aaral ng Aristotelian logic. Okay. So, sa madalit sabi, anong ginawa ni George Bull? He redefined mathematics and in the long run of it, pero mahabang kwento, no? In the long run of it, he reinvents logic to make it mathematical logic. All right. So, what happened? He redefines mathematics. All right. Mathematics. And in the long run of it, he gets to reinvent They invent what? Aristotelian logic. That now you get to have what we call modern symbolic logic. So it now becomes modern symbolic logic. Alright, modern. Bakit? Kasi panahon natin, symbolic logic kasi gumagamit ng symbolic language. Alright? Symbolic logic. Alright? Modern symbolic logic. Sometimes called what? Mathematical logic. Ako, ang preference ko, mathematical logic. Why? I'll tell you about it later. Alright? So, kaya ilan ngayon ang topic natin. Alright? So far, so good ha. Tingnan nga natin. Ako ba yung nasusundan nyo? Wala naman nagko-complain. Sige ha. Okay lang magdabog ha pag may problema. Now, saan, punot dulo, saan ang galing yan? Mga pinag-uusapan natin. Kasi may na-discovering contradiction. Di ba? May na-discovering contradiction. Ayan, yan ang ganda ng pamimilosofiya ha. Hanapin niyo yung mga contradiction. Okay? So far, so good. Nasusundan? Alright. Ngayon, hindi ko alam kung matatapos natin itong lecture na to. Napadaldal na naman ako kung ano-ano. Ngayon, ano ba ang advantages ng symbolic language? Alright, yun ang tanong eh. Ngayon, advantages of symbolic language. Alright? At lumalabas, tatlo lang yan eh. Alright? Lumalabas tatlo. Okay? Ano yung tatlo na yan? Alright? 1, 2, 3. Lumalabas tatlo lang yan eh. Alright? Halimbawa, bigyan ko kayo ng isang halimbawa. Ito muna. If I am going to Spain, then I will need a passport. Alright? Sentence number 1. I am going to Spain. Sentence number 2. Sabihin natin, true yan, dalawa na yan. Ano yan? Premises. Therefore, therefore what? Therefore, I am going, ano ba yan? I'm going to need a passport or I will need a passport. Alright? So, that's an argument. Sa mathematical logic, pag sinulat niyo yung argument na yan in symbolic form, ito lang yan. Alright? If I'm going to Spain, I will need a passport. Alright? I'm going to Spain, therefore, I will need a passport. O, ay di napakaliit na space. Ulitin natin ha. If I am going to Spain, therefore, I will need a passport. Then, I will need a passport. I'm going to Spain. Therefore, I will need a passport. So, notice na ang space na inoccupy nito, konti lang eh. Ang space na inoccupy nito, ang dami. And it's the same on the Jamboard. It's the same with the... Ay, teka, nagkamali ako. Ulitin natin. Sorry yan ang habang sinasabi ko eh. Butin lang, may monitor ako. Ulitin natin. Alright? Ang advantages ng symbolic language, tatlo. Alright, let's take the first one. Alright? This is the first one. Take, for example, an argument like this. If I'm going to Spain, then I will need a passport. I'm going to Spain, therefore I'm going to need a passport. Now, if I write that in symbolic form, what happens? You have this kind of representation, which is what? Compare dito, napakaliit na space. So that's the first advantage, all right? Whether it's space sa Jamboard or space sa mind, sa brain ninyo or space sa computer memory, it is economical. All right? Using symbolic language is highly economical, all right? That's one. I don't like to explain. Kitang-kita naman dyan. But there's another one. Alright? Notice, I already told you, we distinguish between form, remember, and content of what we say. Yes, pinag-usapan na natin yan. Alright? Between form and content, may distinction. Alright? Now, what am I talking about? Well, put it this way. Pag pinag-uusapan ng Spain, umiinit ang ulo ko. Napakainit ng ulo ko. Bakit? Alright, balik tayo sa akin ha. Pagka nabanggit ng Spain, putang ina, nakulo ang dugo ko. Bakit? Yung great-grandfather ko, nakabarkada ni Miguel Malvar at kabarkada ni Pasiano Mercado at kabarkada Artemio Ricarte na pagka-gwapo-gwapo at pagka-bait-bait na tao raw apparently, ay putay na ay winalangyan ng Spain. Pati kapatid idinamay. Pagkatapos kinuha lahat ng ari-arian ng aming pamilya, napalayas tuloy, napatira sa bundok yung aming pamilya. Ay kaya ako'y galit pag naalala kong Spain. Alright? Tapos meron pa. Pagka napag-usapan yung passport, ay puta na, naalala ko sa hirap kumuha ng passport, anak ng tinapay. Ang haba ng pila sa NBI, ang haba ng pila dun sa Department of Foreign Affairs. Ang babaho pa nung kilikili nung katabi mo. Oh my God. Ay di, yun nga ang nangyari. Pagka nakikita ko, naaalala ko yan. Ay bakit natin pinag-uusapan yung aking great-grandfather at saka yung mababahong kilikili doon sa NBI at saka sa Department of Foreign Affairs? Wala lang, gusto kong magkwento. The second advantage, when you write in symbolic form is this. All right? When you write in symbolic form is this. The second advantage is what? Well, you're able to relegate aside. All right? You're able to relegate aside content. Therefore, you're able to what? Focus more on form. All right? You're able to relegate aside content. So, if S then P, S therefore P. Oh, yun lang pinag-uusapan. Walang Spain, walang passport. Oh, di man liwanag. Nakaka-focus ka ngayon. Alright? Ulitin natin. Nawala na naman ako. Kasi may tulong ko gawa ng Spain eh. Alright, ulitin natin. What's the second advantage? The second advantage is you're able to relegate aside content and therefore you're able to focus more on form. So dito nga, napapansin nyo, ang pinag-uusapan na natin, S implies P, S therefore P. O tapos, walang Spain, walang passport. Yeah. What happened? Alright? Nakikita nyo ba yung aking sinishare? Ano nangyari? O yan. Okay. Now, what's the third advantage? Alright? May pangatlong advantage. Halimbawa, sumulat ako na rin. Kunyari lang ha. Sulat ako nito. If I am going to Spain, then I will need a passport. I will need a passport. Therefore, I am going to Spain. Alright? Now, you will notice this sentence here is very much like this sentence here. Alright? Pag pinagtabi mo, halos pareho yung dalawa. Biglang tingin mo, pwede kang malito. Alright? Get it? Pag pinagtabi mo, pwede kang malito. Alright? But notice, pag ang ginawa ko ay ito, isinulat ko dito. Alright? Pag ang ginawa ko ay ganito. Ito nga, ay isinulat ko in this way. At ito naman, isusulat ko similarly Ganito, if I'm going to Spain, then I will need a passport. I will need a passport. Therefore, I'm going to Spain. Pag ganyan ang sinulat ko, makikita nyo, ibang-iba yan. Alright? Kasi ganito yan eh. Alright? Alright, paano? Kasi pag ito ay itinabi mo rito, pwedeng sabihin mo, ay hawig eh. Alright, ulitin natin. Magkahawig ito, alin? Itong argument na ito. Magkahawig ito at saka itong argument na ito. Dahil sila ay magkahawig, ay kung are ay tama na rin siguro are, or kung are ay tama, ay are medyo tama. Alright? Guess what? Let me write another argument. Alright? Alright, let me write an argument. If I have full-blown AIDS, alright? Lalagnatin ako. Alright? May lagnat ako. Sa makatuwid, sa makatuwid, ay di may AIDS ako. Alright? Yan. Now, kasi ganito yan eh. Pag pinagtabi mo ito, saka ito, pareho sila ng form eh. Sasabihin mo, pwede ngayon magkakaproblema ka. Bakit? Kung are ay kahawig nito, ang ibig sabihin, kung are ay tama, ay baka are medyo tama. Ay kung are medyo tama, ay di tama rin are, ano ka, sira. Baka kaya ka may lagnat, meron kang syphilis, hindi ka dahil may AIDS, di ba? So, pagka isinusulat natin in common sensical form, pwede tayong malito eh. Alright, so, mas maganda, sasabihin natin, alright? Anong sasabihin natin? Ito, isulat natin ganito. Alright? Ngayon, pag sinulat mo itong ganito, mapapansin mo, alright? Anong mapapansin mo? Mapapansin mo, hindi sila magkahawig. Bakit? Ito, ang conclusion nito, P. Ito, ang conclusion nito, S. Hindi yan magkahawig ha. Parang sinabi mo, si Leni Robredo ay kahawig na kahawig ni Duterte. Nye. Alright? Hindi totoo yan. Alright? So, ano yung pangatlong advantage? Yung pangatlong advantage, alright? We are able to highlight form, alright? Pagka isinulat yung symbolic language, we're able to highlight form, and therefore, we're able to what? And therefore, comparison or contrast of arguments become more manageable. Alright? So, yun yung pangatlong advantage. Alright? Kapag symbolic ang language, ano nangyayari? We're able to highlight form and therefore comparison or contrast of arguments become more manageable. O, ito, kasi ginawa nga natin na ganyan ang representation, ay mas nakikita natin na hindi mo pwede silang sabihing magkahawig. Sila ay radically different. Bakit ang conclusion din ay P, ang conclusion din ay S? So, hindi ka ngayon na nalilito. Alright? There you go. Ayos ang buto-buto. Remember? Anong ating topic? Ang topic natin ay are. Alright? Mathematical logic. Alright? Pinag-aralan natin si George Boole at panahon ng inventors noong 19th century. Alright? At yung mathematics definition ng Greeks, pinalitan natin. Alright? And then, ginamitan natin ng symbolic language, ang Aristotelian logic. And lumalabas na pag may symbolic logic language ka, it is economical and it can be used to relegate aside content and thus there can be more focus on form. And lastly, It can be used to highlight form and thus making comparison or contrast of arguments more manageable. Alright? Ayos ba? Symbolic language ang ating gagamitin. Alright? Ito yung mga example ko kanina. Alright? Any questions? Okay. Salamat Miss Strongked. Yun na nga, nakita ko nga yung iyong comment eh. Hindi ako nagbalik at nilagyan ko ng sharing. Alright. Naku, naubos na yung oras. 11:25 na. Sige. Magandang umaga po. Sana natuto kayo kahit paano ha. Salamat sa pasensya. Peace, man. Okay.